clarity and relationships around money is something that I've been thinking about a lot over my life and how to do it and how to be successful on my own because I don't want to take money from anybody. I don't want to work for anybody else. And I want to find my own way through it. And I don't want to compromise on anything. And that's my story. And Louisa, you've really mastered this area and have helped me quite a bit with it as well. What's your perspective on money?
I love money. I have always loved money because I've seen the value of what it's done in my life of freedom. And I see money as an opportunity. I see money as connection. I see money as a wonderful experience. And I've enjoyed it thoroughly, mostly because I grew up with a family that showed me. And I have such a, like, as I'm saying this, I'm even catching the value of how I've switched the way I looked at my family. They didn't have money, but they were committed to a life that they were going to give my sister and I, and they achieved that. So they gave us an opportunity to go to private school when they made nothing.
Mm,
They bought a home when they made nothing. So they showed us what was possible while making nothing. And then I just being a really curious kid, and I know this to be really true, we all come to this world with such beautiful individual gifts. One of my gifts is just people. I attract the most beautiful people in the world as part of my circle. And I've always been blessed with that. I didn't even know it was a gift. Like I was 16 years old and I went to go work at LA Fitness. And when I was working at LA Fitness, I met really cool people who would drop off their kids at the childcare and go work out. And my little 16-year-old brain was like, that's what I want when I grow up. I want to be able to drop off my kids at gym and go work out with my husband and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't even know the gift I was receiving while I was in it, because I went to these people's homes that were like multimillionaires and I watched their children and I got to see what their lifestyle was like inside their
mm,
homes. And I was like, they're doing things a little different than my parents. Mine are like struggling, and these people were like hiring housekeepers and they were going on dates and they were happy in the sense of weightless. They weren't so stressed. And my parents were like, we have to make it.
yeah.
And so even though they made it, they stressed, their individual beings were burdened.
Mm,
And so it was, as a little 16-year-old, I was like, okay, this is working in this household. In my household, this is not working. So I was just walking around, learning from people and growing and realizing one of my gifts is that. Like, I didn't do well in school. I didn't really like learning in a classroom. I just realized this week, Larry. Are you ready for this?
yeah.
My parents
Do it.
didn't go to school here in America. They didn't speak the language. They didn't do everything you're told that you have to do in a classroom to succeed. They succeeded.
Yeah.
I was like, why are we looking at how it's supposed to be done to succeed with our kids now? And what if that's not the path? What if like somebody could be planted into the world in LA right now and still succeed even though they didn't do the what you're supposed to do? So what if
Yeah.
I lay off my kids and allow them to be like me and just be curious?
Yeah, this is such a big conversation. I mean, so yesterday when we did the money clarity session, Brian was in the room and you were doing the stuff with me. And then, was that yesterday? Oh,
It was the
yeah,
day before.
day before.
Uh-huh.
Yesterday, I did a relationship clarity session with Wendy
Uh-huh.
Watson, and the relationship with money came up. Um, and what I realized in doing all this was going back to the beginning for me is I didn't care about money at
Yeah.
all. And the belief system around money in my family was you must work for yourself or someone can tell you what to do. So the only purpose for money in my family, and this goes back, except my great grandfather was different. Um, was we have to have enough so nobody can tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And I absorbed that as a real thing. And my success moments where I really succeeded always came because there was some inspiring, I guess, moment where I said, "Oh, I want that." And I went after it 100%, and I completely ignored behaving the right way or doing what I was supposed to do or following any of the rules, and it always worked.
You know, I heard you say this, the sentence that stuck out to me is, "Don't tell me what to do."
That's right.
Right? And it's kind of cool because all of a sudden we start to react to things, and then there's this like moment of where you're like, "Oh my God, am I really driven by like the don't tell me what to do? Like that is something bad?" And then, and it's kind of cool when you like see the sentences. Like somebody was working with horses, and she says, "Horses don't hear don't." Like, don't go fast. All of a sudden, they're going fast. They don't hear don't. And I don't think the world hears don't. It's like we hear tell me what to do.
Oh, how interesting. So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So I think what you're saying is our brains in a society are programmed to follow the society.
Hmm.
And what what happens to really get what you really want is to say, no, 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 no. I'm not listening to that. I'm going to listen to what I know is right for me. And the challenge is everyone else is going to tell me I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah. And it, we're
That's what
not
happened to me.
against, like today I got this download. Actually, I got it yesterday. The day you and I were speaking, actually, I got this
Mhm.
download was the freedom to just be who you are and have fun. You're enough. I'm enough. Like it is actually okay to like allow ourselves to have fun doing what we're doing and just do what we love. And everybody's so
Yeah.
busy trying to do it right and look good and do I had a meeting the same day you and I did. The person said, "Do you like speaking on stages or do you like teaching classes?" And I said I like speaking on stages because I have more fun speaking. I mean, I have really a lot of fun doing both, right? But after we got off, I was like, did he think that I made it all about me because I'm having more fun speaking on stage than I am just teaching a class? And the reality was, like, why is it bad that I had more fun? Why would I be not as valuable if it was about me having fun? Well, if I'm having
Yeah.
fun, then you're having fun because I'm really enjoying giving to you, right? And I thought about that a little bit after, and I was like, well, I just get to touch more people off of a stage. Right now, you and I are touching way more people here. And so, have fun. Everybody has what allows them to light up. So, what is it about what you're doing that lights you up so much that you're here with me this morning? Right? Like, what is this all for? Why are we in this race, and the curiosity, the this, the that? Like, why? The big picture is like you have a vision for the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a vision that comes from a creative place. And this is what we were talking about in the More Money Now room. And the entire room was not with me. So I felt like totally disconnected from the people I'm trying to support in our own group because I was in that, okay, there's this big creative energy coming in the world right now about business and a new way to succeed. And I was like feeling not getting into a conversation in the way I wanted to at that moment. So Brian stepped in and he's like, okay, is everyone else feeling disconnected from this like I am? And the answer was yes. So I was like, all right, I'm going to back off for right now because my energy's in a different place. So it was like, okay, how do we balance this out? So Wendy took over the room and I shut up. And I get to be myself. Everyone else gets to be themselves. And that's the damn point. And where I am and where somebody else is and where I am Monday and Tuesday, it's different.
Hmm.
So the whole idea is what is real in the moment is what should come out.
Yeah. And you just touched on something so beautiful that I learned later in life is I used to be very like I had my heels dug in about how it was supposed to look. What
Yeah.
if I allowed you to be exactly where you are right now and me to be exactly where I am and everybody to be exactly where they are and just be curious about what's working and what's not and just be open as opposed to if you're not understanding me then I'm out, right?
Right.
Like I had this like if it wasn't how I had already decided before the conversation, then I didn't know how to be open with that like space. How beautiful the way you just shared that because you're where you are, everybody is where they are, and there's no heels dug in. It's just how do we still bring life to what you're creating without any heels dug in? No expectations. Like what opens up is possibility when no one has heels dug in.
I think the challenge is an individual one. So for me, that meeting yesterday or the meeting this morning was easy because my big issue is around inadequacy. And if I'm the leader of this thing and I can't run my own meeting and make everybody else happy, that would have triggered a feeling of inadequacy before. And then I'm like, oh, it's not working. It's not working. What am I going to do? I got to fix everything. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And this time I was just like, oh, this is interesting. What the hell's going on here? So
What
I just rolled
beautiful.
with it. And I did not have to be attached to the idea of Brian stepping in and saying, Larry, time out. And then Wendy kind of saying, look, we got to talk about our self-care routines. I don't want to talk about my self-care routine right now. I want to talk about the creative zeitgeist and how we're going to change the world. That was not the energy in the room. That was the energy I brought into the room, but it was not connecting with anybody else in it. Now, another day it would.
Yeah,
So that's the point. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting myself off because I'm not on a soapbox this time. Now,
right.
a while back, I wouldn't have stopped. I would have been like, why can't I make this work? And
I
then
know.
feel bad later.
That's the growth. That is the like magic of who you are and why this is transforming because you're being the leader of how to see that we're all working together. And
Without a judgment of it.
exactly. Remember when I said how interesting I feel like I've seen you in my space before we actually connected and you said that was
Yeah.
very intentional because you actually set that intention to who you're being every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like you show up as that person and I remember so our intention is way more powerful than anything else. And I was doing this exercise where this lady said, okay, set an intention to, we were going to do a horse training thing. I'd never been anywhere near a horse before, like on that realm. And she said, set an intention. So I set this intention. I said it out loud. I would like the horse to teach me what I need to learn today. Like I'm open to what you're going to teach me. So as we were going, she said, now, and I'm like 5 feet tall, so I'm tiny. And she said, now take your belly and put it against the horse's belly and match the breath. And if you're whatever you're talking about with the horse, it will receive it and it'll tell you what you need to hear. And I
Huh.
was like, okay. So I'm matching the breath, and it took some effort on my end to like get my belly against the horse. And then she said, so what did the horse say? And I said, it kept telling me to listen. It wasn't like wanting me to talk, it wanted me to listen. And then we went back because this was like an hour later, and she sent me the video she had taken of me setting my intention. And what did I set the intention? That I was open to what the horse was going to say.
Mm.
So how was I shocked later? That's exactly what I received was you please listen. So whatever like you and I started today, what is the intention of what we're creating here? Why are we here? What are people going to receive? They're not always getting our words. They're actually getting what the intention of is behind the scenes of why we started this conversation. Who are we and what are
Mm.
we doing in this life? And like, what do we want people to experience from us? How do we get to give? How do we get to shine our greatest light to enough people where their light sparks because we all exist together.
Mm.
Like, how do
The
they physically feel listening to us?
So there's an adjustment. So I think about this as notice, adjust, and calibrate. And this morning I had an intent of what I wanted to talk about after Brian's Invincibility Dojo meeting, which was pretty intense one this morning. And then we went into my meeting and everyone was still in that kind of headspace. And my intent was to talk about the creative zeitgeist, where things going, how are you, alignment with your product, with that and all that. Everyone else was still kind of in this other thing, in this um so I didn't adjust right away. So that's the learning. Like now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, so the check-in would have been better. So starting with the check-in and saying, so where are you at today in terms of focusing on your business? And the answer would have been not at all. And then I wouldn't have even gone there. So this is the learning. It's like, no, I wanted to do it, but it's not, the intent is actually how do we help the room come together, as opposed to why do I want to talk about this thing and they didn't.
Hmm.
So it's like part of leadership, I think, for me is learning alignment with other people.
Yeah. Well, it's also connect before you, when you're learning parenting, they say connect before you correct. So
Yes.
connect is
Yes.
always the first step is feeling the room, connecting, and then creating. I don't do connect and then correct. I do connect and then create.
Connect, create. That makes so much sense to me. And I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, my one of my biggest challenges is paying attention to other people. So I'm like, let's go over here.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, I don't want to go over there. I'm like, yeah, but it's better over here. And they're like, no, no, I don't want to go over there. Like, all right, okay, I'm learning. Like, no, if I'm going to be
Look
a
how
leader in a
fast.
group,
Look
I
how
can do
fast you
that, but I've
feel
got
it.
to do what you said, connect first.
Yeah, and look how fast you feel it because it's in a second that as soon as you exited the room, you were like observing what worked, what didn't work. You were assessing the situation. People who are not evolving are like, well, that didn't work. Where did they show up? Like not being cool, but you literally self reflected, and you're still self reflecting, and it's such a great leadership quality.
I
You're
appreciate
very
that.
very powerful.
I appreciate that. Thank you. One thing I wanted to talk about with the money clarity, and I wrote this down yesterday. I want to make sure we get there. We believe that it's possible or not possible to manifest wealth, money, and material objects. Learn from Louisa and Larry why this is the wrong question. So the way I was thinking of it is the idea of it being possible. People believe it's possible to manifest money. There's a whole group in the population. Oh, of course, I manifest the money. And then there's people who believe, oh, you can't do that. That's not true. Manifesting wealth, money, material objects. I'm thinking of it being the wrong question because I'm thinking about it as creating prosperity as opposed to manifesting money or objects. And that doesn't even make sense to me anymore. And I was reading Yogananda years ago, autobiography of a yogi, and there was one of the yogis who could manifest jewelry. In other words, he could create jewelry from his imagination. And Yogananda's teacher was like, stop doing that.
You know what's coming to me as you say that is this word homeostasis. The
Oh,
one thing that our body is likes predictability, and it doesn't feel safe to foresee that, so our insides start to freak out, and all of a sudden we're like, yeah, I want that, but it's so in the future, it's not familiar, and our body doesn't accept it.
hmm,
So living like you already have it, which is where gratitude lives, right? We're
hmm.
always thinking if I have that, then I'll be happy, but yet that's not familiar. And so based on math, our body is like reject, reject. It's not familiar. I'm uncomfortable. Fight or flight is what sets in.
Oh, interesting.
And so we already deleted it before it's possible. It's a
So let
want,
me,
it's outside of us. But yet, if we don't literally, like, I say this and people are fascinated. I said, the only difference between me and a lot of other people that go, "You're so lucky." I'm like, I am. You know, the difference between me and you is I actually know I'm lucky.
Mm.
Like you, everyone's lucky if they look around and look to see what they're lucky about, but they'll see why I'm lucky. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm actually so lucky that I know I'm lucky.
Let's
It's
make
not
this
outside of
tangible in a
us.
story. So with Bruce Lee, so Bruce Lee's story is the best. I love Bruce Lee, and I started studying energy martial arts 30 years ago. So I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long, long time. So when I read Bruce Lee's biography, it's a very detailed biography, and I've been practicing the Jeet Kune Do stuff and everything. And I just feel so connected to this guy. And his daughter wrote a book about him, about water and the whole thing. And the story is awesome because in the society, you've got the water stuff in an understanding of energetic martial arts with that soft touch of knowing how to play with that energy and use it because it's so powerful martially, but in life as well. So everything's the same, in terms of how you apply that doing, not doing kind of psychic mentality. Okay. But then there's the other side of the manifestation Bruce Lee part. So he did Napoleon Hill's Thinking We're Rich, and he wrote his chief aim, which is I'm going to make this much money. I'm going to be world famous. I'm going to be the first that brings together Asia and the West. All that happened too. However, his struggle to make that happen, almost it killed him in the end. And I'm thinking, what do you think about that? Because as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, you didn't have to write down all that stuff Napoleon Hill style. You were already doing it. And he already had it in his intent, and he was already clear in doing it. And the fact that he had to make that happen so he could become Bruce Lee absolutely killed him.
I feel like my personal opinion, I feel like everything we're doing, we've already done. This
Yeah.
is like, it's already done. I live my life like I'm going to make popcorn, sit down and watch my own movie. I take the like, I'm not going to kill myself to accomplish, God help me, I'm going to accomplish a lot, right? But I'm just not going to experience it as I'm going to kill myself doing it. My experience is the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. My
Yes.
everyday
That's right.
life is my experience of joy. Like one of the things you said to me the day we met is you're actually living that life. I live on vacation. I
Yeah.
do 100% do what I want to do every day. So I will. My experience of my life isn't I'm killing it myself at all. So we all have a choice. Will I still experience 100% of my intention? 100% I will, but
Yeah.
I will do it loving my life. And so it's a choice. It doesn't have to be like I'm killing myself getting it, because in this very moment, I'm having a blast with you. Do I love this? 100%. It's a choice. What do you love doing? Just do what you love. God gave it to you because He wants you to experience it. We really feel bad, like something's wrong with doing what you love. Love
Yeah.
it. I love working out. I love my hot yoga classes, right? So the salon says to me, because I also have been doing hair for 28 years and I don't like working for other people. So when you work for other people, they tell you what to do. And
Yeah.
then you get to like have the outside the box choice still, right? So they said, if you sit in the salon, we'll give you clients. Well, then that takes away from my yoga time. What did I think? I'm going to go to hot yoga and then, which is like their salon time, and I'm going to ask all my clients to write me reviews online. So guess what? No one walks past the salon and walks in anymore. They all look online to see who they want to go to. So if 99% of the reviews are about me, guess who's going to get all those clients? Do I still have to sit in the salon in order to get them? No. I still got what I wanted. I still go to hot yoga and I still get everybody calling and saying, may I see Louisa? Think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. So the Bruce Lee thing with the wax on, wax off. So that's how I was taught to do these things as well, and that's how he was taught. So Ip Man, his first teacher, said to him, "You can't come to class anymore." And he's like, "I have to come to class." And he says, "You're working too hard." And he said, "What I want you to do is think about the word water." So so he's like, "No, I have to come to class." He's like, "No, you can't. You're not, and don't get in a fight with anybody." Because he was picking fights everywhere in Hong Kong. So he goes out in the bay, I think, and water. And he's like, "Oh, I get it." And he went back, and Ip Man said, "Now I can teach you." And I get that 100%. However, he found Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm like, that book was written during the Great Depression in the United States for people in 1937 in the United States where they needed money. That was the focus. And that book was about how to get money, material prosperity, so the United States could take off and come out of the Great Depression. Bruce Lee discovers that book in the 70s and has this ego thing of wanting to be this big star, which was his destiny anyways, to bring East and West together. And I think he hurt himself, and so did I, spending 2 years writing down all the manifestation money stuff I wanted. I have a journal, 2 years of writing that stuff down. And I got what I wanted anyways, but I made it so much harder on myself writing all those things down.
I don't know if I like. Where's my books? Hold on. So
What is that? I can't read it. It's
this
backwards.
is called the 13 Steps to Riches. When I
Oh,
first started this journey,
uh-huh.
I somehow attracted this group that was like, hey, why don't we study Think and Grow Rich? And then we will write a chapter. Each author will write a chapter on each principle of Think and Grow Rich.
Oh,
There's
that's
13
smart.
principles. So
That's
I got to
great.
be one of the authors in all
Oh,
13 books. So
oh,
I was
wow.
like, I sucked in school. I don't know how to write, but I sure am excited about the possibility of studying Think and Grow Rich with 33 other authors and write a chapter. Like, how do you learn something as you teach it? How do you learn it? Like, I got
Yeah.
to actually, so chapter 1 is desire. The first principle of Think and Grow Rich is desire.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of us is inside of each person. Find what lights you up, find what brings you joy. The book is beautiful. We can
It's a
do
great
life
book.
the hard way. We could do life the easy way. We could just,
Yeah.
it's already done. Allow it to come through. And if you're happy, you're a pleasure to be around. People want to be around you. Take that pressure off. Show up with as much love and light as you can. And people like you. People want to do business with people they like. Take the energy of heaviness off and just
Yeah.
have freaking fun. These are all inside of us.
I think it's the hardest thing for entrepreneurs because we have different types of energy. So I know what mine is. No doubt now. I am in it. I understand how the energy blueprint works and all that as much as anyone, can. I mean, I've got my own perspective. And what I found was that when I see what's coming into the world and there's so much friction against my vision of what I'm trying to create, the frustration around not being able to push through that block
Yeah.
leads me towards doing things like writing down things I want to I
Well, you know
want
what I
running
hear
around
when you
park,
say
right?
that?
It's like this. It's like, why don't they get it?
Are you ready? You ready? Whatever you
Yeah,
resist persists.
that's right.
Let it go. It's already done. Here's the thing. In my world, what you're intending is done. You have nothing to work against. Just
That's right.
picture it as done. It's already done. Enjoy the journey because you are brilliant. Your vision is huge. It is magical. You've created something that is magnificent. Sit back and truly enjoy the journey because you're one of those very gifted people that, like, I love You know what I love about really, really, really smart people? They're so smart, they're always outthinking themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
just enjoy yourself.
Dangerous.
Yeah. I love really smart people because they're looking at me like, how did you figure this out? I was like, I didn't even know I couldn't. Like I would get these
Right.
huge, huge speakers on my podcast. 100% of the time, everybody's like, how did you get that person to say yes to you? I was like, I didn't know they would not. I didn't
Every
know they
single thing okay, we're at time and I got a meeting, so we have to stop, but we could talk for hours.
I know.
But I want to end it on one thing, which is every single time I succeeded, it was because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I had to have the thing. The desire was really strong, and the desire was never about the money. It was about, I want to create this thing, and the money came as part of
Yep.
it every single time. And every time I tried to push and push and push, I still got the same thing. It was just harder.
Yeah, just have fun because you're really quite fun.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Louisa. Talk
Thank
to
you.
you
Thank you.
soon.
Yes.